It got quiet, so I guess it's time to start. Good morning, everybody here at Peddler's Fork, and good morning, everybody that's watching online on AmgenTourOfCalifornia.com. We are pleased to have everybody together here and via the internet to make probably about 4 different announcements. And we'll get to a lot of beginning with the fact that earlier this week we were very proud to announce a second day of women's racing will be taking place during the 2014 Amgen Tour of California. We're really proud that we're the first race, stage race like this to make that claim, but we always have a lot of firsts that go on with the Amgen Tour of California. This is the first time we have been to this fantastic restaurant in Calabasas, California called Peddler's Fork. And it's sort of a mecca of valley cycling. If you walk through, I mean, everything from the artwork to the fry pans in the kitchen is cycling related. And if you cycle or if you just like good food and you're in Calabasas, you really need to stop here in the middle of your ride or the middle of your day because highly recommended. The sooner we get through this, the sooner we get to the lunch that we've all been looking at today. So. I'm also happy to tell you that today you'll be hearing from members of some of the teams that will be competing in this year's race. I'll give away a couple of the names just to tell you that we'll hear from some cyclists today from Optum Pro Cycling presented by Kelly Benefit Strats, the Jelly Belly presented by Maxis, United Healthcare, Rita, and TIPCO, and we have representatives from their teams, men and women, that will talk about the race and talk about the ride they did today. Those of you that are familiar with our website know that on either side of me we have some jerseys, and want to mention that the winner's jersey, the leader's jersey, is brand new this year. It is now available online. The specially designed for this year California jersey is also available, and there will be all of the other jerseys coming online soon, so keep looking back and forth for that. We're going to introduce many race officials, some officials from some of the cities, and why don't we just get to right now someone who I think people who are familiar with the race know very well. She has been with the race since its inception. She is with AEG. She's Senior Vice President of AEG Sports and is also in charge of everything that has to do with this race. Please welcome Kristen Bachochin.
Thank you, Michael, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here today at Peddler's Fork, and a special thanks to Peddler's Fork and our partners at 10 Speed Coffee, Tim, Robbie, Gideon. We appreciate you hosting us today, and congratulations on this fantastic establishment. Welcome to our men's competitors, and I don't want to say more importantly, but welcome to all of our women's competitors that are here today. We'll be mentioning more about them later, but I would first like to thank a few of our partners that are here today. Thank you for our Assistant City Manager of Thousand Oaks, Drew Powers. Thank you for being here today. It's a very exciting year for the City of Thousand Oaks. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary, and we're very proud to be hosting the overall finish there once again. So you'll be hearing from him in a few minutes. A couple other partners that are here. I see Jim Lacey, Crunchies, who has been a partner of ours. I see your entire team here. Thank you for joining us here today. Alex Wassman with SRAM has been a long-standing partner of ours. Thank you for being here. This is one of my favorite times of the year, when we finalized all of the major components and all of the course details. You know, I really start to feel just all of the excitement. You know, all of the planning is pretty much done at this point. You know, all of the hard work that not only our team, but the local organizing committees, all of the work that they've put in thus far, you know, we see it coming to fruition. And it's going to be another, you know, thrilling 8 days of racing. Before we talk about the route and reveal the identity of the 7 new teams that will round the field in the men's race, I want to mention some exciting news that we mentioned earlier this week. For the first time in the history of the race, and actually the first time in any stage race in the U.S., we are proudly presenting 2 days of women's professional racing presented by SRAM. The first day will be held in Sacramento on Sunday, May 11th with a circuit race, and then we will follow the second day on Monday, May 12th in Folsom with the time trial. So, ladies, we all look forward to seeing you compete this year for 2 exciting days. As always, the 2014 Amgen Tour of California will feature 16 of the best cycling teams in the sport today. Already this year, we have announced for the first time that we'll feature 9 Pro Tour teams. I'm thrilled to be able to share with you the 7 remaining teams, the Pro Continental as well as the Continental teams. Again, we are so proud to have such a strong and talented field. The lineup includes domestic favorites as well as top-ranked squads. 4 of the top 10 UCI America Tour teams will be competing. The UCI Pro Continental teams that will race in the 2014 Amgen Tour of California include United Healthcare Pro Cycling Team. Not only are they top-ranked, but they are a hometown team from Oakland. We have Team Novo Nordisk, which is a very unique group of athletes, the first all-diabetes professional cycling team in the world. We have Team NetApp Endura from Germany. I think we all remember Leopold last year, his epic stage win up the grueling Mount Diablo. I'll get to this in a minute, but it's something that we may have the chance to see play out again this year. And the 4 UCI Continental teams, and some of them who are joining us here today, we have Optum Pro Cycling presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies, which features current U.S. National Time Trial Champion Tom Zerwell. We have Team Jameis Higgins-Berman presented by Sutter Home, who are ranked 4th in their division. We have Jelly Belly Cycling Team presented by Maxis. Again, we have representation, which features U.S. National Road Champion and one of our favorites, Freddie Rodriguez of Berkeley. Again, another hometown favorite to root for. And finally, we have Bissell Development Team, which will make their 3rd race appearance this year under new management. So again, we look forward to seeing all these teams competing here in May. We are also here today to announce the route details for the 2014 Amgen Tour of California. But before I reveal that information, I would like to take a special moment to thank Visit California as the presenting partner of today's route announcement and thank them for being a fantastic partner and so supportive since the inception of the Amgen Tour of California in 2006. They will also be the entitlement, they'll be the presenting sponsor of 2 stages this year, both Stage 1 and Stage 4. And I want to thank them for all of their assistance continuing to help us pull together visual highlights of what the riders and the fans will see across the 8 days. As always, one of the things that makes this race so special and what we continue to hear from all the teams and riders is how beautiful the state of California is. We are so fortunate to be able to hold America's race in a state that has such diversity and picturesque landscapes. We welcome 12 host cities, both starts and finishes this year. We're going to return the route starting in the north and finishing in the start, and it's going to begin in Sacramento. It'll start and finish at the Capitol this year, which we're very excited to be back. Folsom will be the site of our Stage 2 time trial, followed by the Queen Stage from San Jose to Mount Diablo State Park. We will then blaze down the iconic Highway 1. We will go through Monterey, Cambria, Pismo Beach, and Santa Barbara. The final 3 days will finish in LA County, in Santa Clarita, Mountain High, Pasadena, and of course Thousand Oaks, which we're very excited to be coming back there. And it's also the hometown of Amgen, who is our title sponsor and has been a phenomenal partner for the 9th consecutive year. The overall week, from an iconic standpoint, is going to be breathtaking to say the least. But with that being said, it's not all about sightseeing. The 2014 Amgen Tour of California will likely go down as one of the most toughest races that we have staged to date. Jim Burrell, our race director, will go into a little bit more detail in a minute, but I would like to point out a couple of the highlights. I would say one of the biggest changes this year to the race is that the riders will face, number one of the longest race days, then they'll have the time trial, and then they'll have the toughest stage all within the first 3 days of the race this year, which is different in the past because the time trial and the Queen Stage typically have come later in the week. So the leaders only had a day or two to actually defend their position. So this year, teams will have to defend the lead for another 5 days. So it's very likely and very exciting that we'll see the yellow leader jersey change hands multiple times throughout the week. And teams will be battling right until the end. So nothing's going to be a given this year. Like I said, there are no easy days this year. We have 2 mountaintop finishes with Mount Diablo State Park and Mountain High. We have 40,000 feet in climbs. And some of the very technical climbs and descents are here in LA County. So with that, to pique your curiosity, I would now like to introduce Jim Burrell, who is not only our race director, but he's managing partner of Medalist Sports. He's going to come up here and provide us with some more professional insight on what the route is going to entail. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you all for attending today. It is a thrill to stand here and share with you the details that has taken over a year to go through the process of not only designing but the permitting process and working with our good friends at CHP and Caltrans. You know, here with the 9th annual Amgen Tour of California, we're going to be racing over 730 miles and over 40,000 feet of climbing over the 8 days. We've got unbelievable host communities starting in the north and finishing here in the south. You know, stage 1, again, as you heard from Kristen, will begin at the state capitol in Sacramento. It will be a relatively flat stage. It will be our longest stage of this year's tour, but it will be a great day to see our star-studded field of sprinters come into the final 3 laps in downtown Sacramento to wear the coveted yellow jersey before they move into stage 2. Stage 2 will start and finish in the historic area of Folsom. Now, stage 2 is our individual time trial. It's a moment of truth where each one of these riders will go off in a 1-minute interval, and the last 10 will go off in a 2-minute interval. This particular stage was designed for speed. It's a short 12.6-mile stage where we'll see some compelling action on the out and back course before finishing again in the historic downtown Folsom. Stage 3, we're really thrilled. It is our Queen stage. We'll return to San Jose, a site that's been a part of the tour in its 9 editions. This year, however, for the first time, we're going to see a long 22 switchback ascent 5 miles into the stage up Mount Hamilton, where we'll descend into the Central Valley and stay on the east side of Livermore, which hosted the start of last year's stage, where we finished at Mount Hamilton, or Mount Diablo. Mount Diablo, as y'all recall, was a 12.6-mile ascent where we saw these riders spend over 40 minutes in the pain cave. And that last little punch to the finish line was an incredible feat for the young rider from Team NetApp. Stage 4, I'm sorry, where we'll begin in Monterey, is probably one of our most iconic stages. I mean, we were there in the early years of the Amgen Tour of California, 06 and 07, where we started in the historic area of Monterey. This is probably our most iconic stage, where we'll spend 105 miles on our way down to the town of Cambria. But this is a postcard. I mean, this stage will highlight great vistas. The Bixby Bridge, which was probably one of the most photographed bridge after the Golden Gate Bridge here in the state of California. Our first sprint will be in the small town of Big Sur, where we'll see the redwoods and great views of the ocean. We'll pass Hearst Castle. On our survey several weeks ago, we saw big herds of elk and zebras, so maybe they'll return for a great visit during stage 4. We'll pass the Elephant Seal Beach before finishing in the postcard community of Cambria. Stage 5 is another first for the Amgen Tour of California. For the first time in its 9-year history, we're going to start on the pier in Pismo Beach, which is one of the longest piers here in the state of California, over 1,200 feet long. We'll begin that stage in Pismo and make our 108-mile ride down to Santa Barbara. However, before we're getting to Santa Barbara, we'll go over the San Marcos Pass. And the descent off of San Marcos will we'll be able to witness probably the fastest speeds of this year's tour. It's a long, wide, open road that will really allow these riders to race comfortably at the highest speeds into the streets of Santa Barbara. Stage 6, as you know, will host 2 of our stage starts. The first day in Santa Clarita will start in the Newhall area of Santa Clarita. This 97-mile stage will end at our second mountaintop finish. We'll spend a good portion of the day in the high desert before making that final climb. To many of you all who have raced in here in the years past will experience that same climb as you did up to Big Bear years ago, but this time you're going to see a 1.2 mile really steep ascent to the finish line in Mountain High. Our Saturday stage, or in stage 7, day 2 in Santa Clarita will begin the 91-mile journey at the Town Center Mall in Santa Clarita. This route will take you up and over the Angeles National Forest and the crest of the Angeles National Forest before passing the Rose Bowl, one of the most iconic bridges in Pasadena, the Colorado Street Bridge. We'll go through with finishing circuits through Old Town Pasadena before finishing in one of the most picturesque city halls here in the state of California in Pasadena. The final stage, home of Amgen, our title sponsor, and the 50th anniversary of the city of Thousand Oaks. You all remember from 2010 where we had 4 ascents up Rockstar, and the attrition value of Rockstar was really surprising. I mean, we started with 108 riders that day, and I think we finished with 67. So we hope and encourage each and every one of these teams to prepare themselves for that final day. I think as we continue to fine-tune those final few circuits in downtown Thousand Oaks, where we really want to see the fireworks of, again, the star-studded field of sprinters that we have coming, and being on national television every day, but this particular day will be on NBC televising the last 2 hours live. So we really look forward to seeing some great fireworks here on the streets of Thousand Oaks. So again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you all here in a couple of months.
Thank you, Jim. And we are very excited to be partnering once again with Pacific Sports to produce LeTap to California. And for all of you who are not familiar with LeTap, it's an opportunity for amateurs to ride one of our official Amgen Tour of California courses. And this year it's being held in Thousand Oaks on April 6th. So anybody who wants to test themselves and ride the official course that the pros are going to be doing, you can find out more information either, actually you can go to amgentourofcalifornia.com. Thank you.
Well, I hope we've got everybody excited. With the riders here, we're going to hear from in a few minutes, have got a little preview of the race. Some of them rode part of the course today. We'll find out how the Rockstar climb fared with them. I'd like to, as Kristen mentioned, we are here today being presented by Visit California. Carolyn Patetta, who runs the organization, we can't thank them enough for all the support since the inception of the race that Visit California has done, and obviously we are so proud to be in California. We love to share California with the world and invite everybody who watches on the International Broadcast Network to come and visit California. And when you're in California visiting, we again suggest you come to the Peddler's Fork restaurant. where we are today in Calabasas. And to say a few words on behalf of the restaurant is Gideon Kleinman.
Thank you guys for coming out today. I wanted to thank Amgen and AEG especially. They've been awesome partners. 10 Speed Coffee is looking at their third year now as a partner with the Tour of California, and it's our biggest event. We're excited every year. We're huge cycling fans ourselves. The brand has always been dedicated, of course, first and foremost to the product and the coffee, but the first store opened up in Hood River and was next to a bike shop. So we've always had a tie-in to cycling, and getting to see the pros race and support the races and just, keep going the sport that we really love is what we're all about. So having an event here at Peddler's Fork and, in the home of 10 Speed Coffee now we're blown away by it. So thank you guys all very much for coming out, and we're really excited to see you at every single finish. We'll be serving coffee throughout the race and in the VIP areas. So we're happy to see the race and really looking forward to this coming year. Thank you.
We have 12 host cities this year that will host the starts and the finishes of the race, the time trial and all. We have one representative speaking on behalf of all 12 of the cities, but in particular speaking on behalf of our closest neighbor here, Thousand Oaks, celebrating their 50th anniversary as a city that has hosted this race before. So please welcome from Thousand Oaks the Assistant City Manager. I'm sorry, Drew Powers.
Hi, everyone. Really a pleasure to be here representing all of the host cities, but especially Thousand Oaks. We are in our it's the fourth year we've hosted the race. Amgen hosted the very first year. We took a couple years off, and we were just thrilled to be back. It is our city's 50th anniversary, and we couldn't think of a better way to celebrate that than to have the race come back through town. We're really trying to position ourselves as a world-class cycling destination with the Santa Monica Mountains and a lot that we have on our city streets. So having the race come back to Thousand Oaks is just a thrill for us, and we thank you all very much.
Just a couple more speakers, but we do have some of our friends here today, and we'd like to have them share with you some of what they'll be doing for the race, to support the race, from some of our great partnerships. And someone who's been there with us for many, many years is racing team SRAM, and Alex Wassman, who is their marketing director, would like to say a few words. Alex?
Thank you, Michael. And thanks again for having us here. This is our 5th year at the Amgen Tour California. It's an absolutely fantastic event, a privilege for us to have gotten involved with it. We've only been on this side of the sport. SRAM has only been on this side of the sport for about 9 years now. And one of the things that we aspired to was really taking part in embedding in a race like at this level, at this quality, international level event. Our mission is to inspire cycling and cyclists at every level, and our role at the Amgen Tour California is multifaceted. One of the things that we also got involved in a few years ago, on top of our neutral support status, where we supply the red cars that keep the race flowing throughout the race day, each stage, is also bringing and helping AEG and Amgen and the ATOC bring world-class women's race to the Amgen Tour California. This is now the 3rd year that we've done this with the TT, and that's been just a gangbusters event for all of us, and it's wonderful to, again, bring this to the 2014 edition. So we really look forward to working with everybody and being part of that race all the way through, and having an expanded women's event this year is super. So thanks very much for having us.
One of the really gratifying things that we at AEG feel about this race every year is how many new people we introduce cycling to in California, throughout the world, and how many people pick up the sport, come back every year, and are really adopting a far more healthy and fit lifestyle. We thank for that a company that's joined us a couple years ago that helps send out that message and really helps people adapt to the great sport and learn about the great sport of cycling. Representing Carmichael Training Systems is Kirk Nordgren.
Thanks, Mike. Carmichael Training Systems, we're proud to be back for a 4th year now, operating what we've partnered with the race to present a race experience for amateurs, everyday cyclists who, it's been described as a fantasy camp. We call it a bucket list experience, but it's an opportunity to immerse yourself for a week in the world of pro cycling. We've been called the 17th team. What we do is we ride every stage of the race ahead of the pros. We share the same hotels, we eat meals, we're rubbing shoulders with the pro riders all week. And it's a chance to experience life as a pro with massage every day, mechanics working on your bike, you just show up and ride. So we've got a few spots left in our team this year. It's a team of normally about 20, 25 athletes who join us. So we've got a few spots left. And we'd love to have anybody out there who's interested in experiencing this race come join us again. You can find out more about it at Carmichael Training Systems. Our website is trainright.com.
Don't go away, Kurt. So I think a couple of those points for people who are watching on the web, we reiterate. So anybody that feels they can make a 742-mile race can sign up. And again, it caught my attention. It's staying in the same hotels, it's riding a course, and the daily massage.
Yeah, it's not easy, as you say. It's 730 plus miles, 40,000 feet of climbing, but it's, we take, everyday people and bring them through this week. It's an incredible challenge for a lot of people, but you're taking care of every step of the way. And just like these pro riders, all you do is think about riding your bike. Everything else is taken care of.
And the 17th team gets a kit, head to toe, gets and I'm assuming they bring their own bikes?
Yeah, you bring your own bike.
But you have techs that will work on their bikes for them, right?
Exactly. Yep, you don't even have to think about it. You just ship your bike out and we build it and you just ride it every day.
One last question. So I've never seen the professional riders, maybe not until after the 7th stage, really party with some of the people. The riders that come out through Carmichael, at the end of every day, are they upstairs sleeping, or is it a social thing where they're pounding beers down with the race organizers?
We certainly encourage them to go back to their hotel room and get some rest, because it is a long week, a lot of riding, but they can do what they like.
Great, thank you again. So, before we conclude here, if you've seen the wider shots of the room, there are a lot of people in kits today. We did allow some of the cyclists that were named today to ride parts of one of the courses, the dreaded Rock Store climb that many people have heard about. It's a very popular climb in California for the really trained cyclists, and so I wanted to call a couple of the cyclists up here to ask a couple questions for people here in the restaurant, for people at home. And so why don't we start with some women that have joined us today who are going to be part of the race from United Healthcare. Actually, this is an interesting thing. We have two sisters, and they're two sisters that race for two different teams. I wonder how that happened. We'll figure that one out. Welcome someone who was a 10-time U.S. national champion in different categories, but she's the current under-23 champion, Alexis Ryan. And I think we're going to bring a couple of extra mics up. Why don't you hold this? I think it's your older sister. Yep. That would be Kendall Ryan, who's also a 3-time junior champion, and she's with a TIBCO team. I didn't mention that Alexis with United Healthcare. Microphone for you, and hold on. We also have from the Optum Pro Cycling team, presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies, Jade Wilcoxon. She's just in her second year. She's a 7-time junior cyclocross national champion. And Amber Pierce. who another seasoned pro. Spent a lot of time in Europe, and actually, Amber, as long as you're closest to me, why don't we pass the mic? I understand this is you're back in the United States after, and we want to put you close together because we have one camera and it's not a real wide lens, and none of you are real wide, so you can all get together. That's great. So the question is, compare a European race to the Amgen Tour of California. What is it like for the riders and the fans?
Well, I think the Amgen Tour of California is quite similar, actually, to some of the bigger tours in Europe in the sense that it encompasses a huge geographic scope and has some just epic stages and epic courses. And cycling is a unique sport in the sense that the fans have a lot of access to the athletes. I mean, there are very few sports where you can, for free, drive up on the side of the road and get within a few meters of your heroes and your favorite athletes. And this is a fantastic opportunity for cyclists and cycling fans to get out there and see the top-level athletes performing at the peak of their sport.
All right, and so let's talk to Kendall. Oh, okay. Oh, you're welcome. Right. So you're the older sister, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to call you first. I'm an older brother. So, how many years have you been cycling?
This is my 13th year.
13th year?
Yeah.
Okay, and does that make you one of the team leaders on your team?
Not necessarily. I'm probably one of the most experienced, but yeah.
And as the experience, so have you looked at the course yet?
No, I haven't had the chance to, no.
But you rode today, right?
Yes.
And what about that rock store climb?
Oh, I didn't do the Rockstar climb. I was doing separate training.
Okay.
Up in the Santa Monica Mountains, though, yeah.
And so, will you now focus on different types of training days to gear up for this race?
Definitely.
Have you ever time trialed?
Yes.
And what about our time trial? What do you think?
It's hard.
Okay, good to know. We like to put challenges. Now let's add, Alexis, did you get into cycling because of your sister?
I guess, yeah. My whole family races, so we have a brother as well.
Who does he race for?
He's going to school right now.
Okay, so how competitive is it, you and your sister?
It's actually pretty competitive, I'd say. We used to be teammates, but now that we're on separate teams, we train together sometimes.
Where was the under-23 race held? The championship?
Wisconsin.
And
last year.
Okay.
She was not there.
She's probably over 23.
No.
Oh, you're 20. Oh, so you were young. Okay, I'm getting the older, younger thing together.
She's been living in South Africa.
Okay, and so how much racing have you done in the United States? Most of your career, or have you traveled around as well?
I have. I've been to Europe several times, and my first race this year was in Argentina. So yeah, I've been all over the world.
Do you find the fans of the United States are as passionate as some of the ones we hear about in Europe? More passionate? How do you compare the fans?
I would say more enthusiastic.
Really?
Yes.
And how does that help you as a cyclist?
It's definitely empowering.
Okay.
Yes. When you're out there racing and you're going as hard as you can, and you go through a huge crowd and you get shivers and you get goosebumps because they're screaming so loud for you, that's an amazing feeling.
So shivers and goosebumps, does that make you go faster, or is there
a wind resistance? Faster.
There's no wind resistance problem with that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's pass the mic to Jade. Oh, Jade has a mic. What's the biggest race in the U.S. that you've competed in?
The biggest race, it might be the Tour of California the last 2 years. As far as crowds coming out and watching and spectators.
I'd hope that you would say that. So the Amgen Tour of California you've been in twice. What have your experiences been with the race and as being part of the peloton in those couple of years? What's the overall feeling amongst the cyclists in terms of the competition level?
It's a very high competition level. We've had some of the best time trialists in the world come out for the race, and it's great to be a part of the Amgen Tour of California alongside the men. Our boys from Optum Pro Cycling are racing here as well, so it's nice for the women's team to show up and represent for Optum as well.
So now in this year we're going to have 2 days of racing for the women. compare what it'll be like for both days. Will the same riders be successful both days, or will there be specialists that emerge in the field?
I think it's entirely possible that some of the riders that do well in the crit can also do well in the time trial. I think it's kind of a rolling course. There aren't too many steep climbs like we had last year at the Tour of California. So some of the crit riders can do well, but you're also going to have specialists like Evie Stevens and Kristen McGrath come out, and I think they'll show some strength on the time trial day.
Well, we're hoping that we're going to find some people on the first day that may not. The time trial, we have a smaller field. I think we have just about a couple of dozen riders, but we are keeping a couple spots open so that if you're not qualified for the time trial, but you finish high enough up on the first day, we're going to save a couple spots to let someone win a chance to go in the second day and see if we can get some surprises.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great idea.
And the teams, do you find the teams that are getting better every year because of the opportunities out there?
I do. I think women's cycling is growing at a very fast rate, and it's nice to have the Amgen Tour of California on board with that and responding to that and inviting the bigger teams to come participate.
Let's ask Amber another question. What's the camaraderie like, or the training like, when you're at a race with the men's team? Is there a lot of interaction, or are you sort of on your own, or how does that work out when there's a men's team and a women's team closely aligned?
Well, I'm actually new to the team this year, and in the past I've always been on the strictly women's team, but so far it's been fantastic. I mean, there's wonderful camaraderie, and I think that the support that we get from the men and that we give back is definitely a little bit of extra motivation for everyone.
And one last question. Cycling, women's cycling especially, is coming on. We see more teams. Talk about the importance of a great partner, a great team owner like Optum, a sponsor like Optum Kelly. How does that enable you guys to race and actually really create something so we have these great juniors that can come out and keep going in the competitions?
Absolutely. I mean, as is the case across the entire sport, we are here because of our sponsors, and Optum has been a huge supporter of cycling in general, but specifically, especially also for the women. And it is definitely one of the most professionally run teams that I've been a part of. And, in addition to Optum, SRAM as being a presenting sponsor of the women's races here at Amgen Tour of California is a huge, huge boon to the women's side of the sport. And not only are they a sponsor of our team, but they're obviously putting their money where their mouth is in terms of really supporting the higher level of women's cycling that's happening right now. I mean, the competitiveness and the standard of competition in the sport is huge, and it's definitely nice to see the sponsors and the races stepping up and following suit.
Great. One more question for the Ryan sisters. We're going to have you as sort of the representatives of the cyclists of today and tomorrow, the younger riders. What do you say to encourage young ladies, teenage girls, to get into cycling? How do you encourage and help to build your sport?
Come ride with us.
Do you see a lot of kids out there on weekends and all?
I do. And there's actually a huge growth in high school sports. So there's a huge cycling league that's starting up, and I think that's a great way to get into cycling. And it's mountain biking.
Yeah, the mountain bike league.
And that's a safe way to get into the sport. You're not on the road. You're with friends. You're building a relationship with the sport and with other people, and I think that helps grow your love for the sport, and so that maybe you can move on to the road and you can continue to follow your dreams, whatever they may be.
Well, the fact that you four continue to race and continue to come back and win titles, you obviously have a love for the sport,
yes.
As do we all, because you're not retiring yet on the earnings. We're hoping to sort of promote it so there are earnings you can retire on, but it really is the love that keeps you going. We appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before we hear from the men, we have another special guest. A couple years ago, AEG decided, as with most of our initiatives, to have something that will give back to the community and give back to those in need. We formed an affiliation with the Ride to Recovery group, and they will be out with us during the race. And I think Juan is here from Ride to Recovery somewhere. Perfect. Why don't I give you a mic and ask you to say a couple words about Ride to Recovery, talk about that organization, and talk about what they do.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here and talk about Right to Recovery. Right to Recovery is a nonprofit organization, and we do cycling events as a way of therapy and rehab for ill servicemen and women that are recovering from their injuries that were either served during combat or during their training, during their time in service. We specialize in week-long events, but during the week of April and May, we will have 3 one-day events. That will be Sacramento, San Jose, and Thousand Oaks, that with the help of the Amgen Tour of California, they've helped us put it together on those cities that will be hosting some of the stages. All the funds that are raised through those one-day events go back to the program, and they help us build adaptations to bikes that certain guys need that are missing fingers, hands, arms, legs, or they just can't ride a normal bike. So the funds that are raised through these events, they help us create and make these crazy adaptations to these bikes that nobody has ever seen, giving them the opportunity to be able to ride with everybody else out there and have that sense of normality and not feel like they're they don't belong on the road with everybody else.
It's pretty incredible if you've ever seen a Ride to Recovery, and as he pointed out, there are the men and women who were the fittest people amongst all of us, who could have probably competed in any stage of the Amgen Tour of California and beyond, who served their country and came back and are disabled in a way that they need to find some other way to compete and some other way to stay fit. And no matter what the ailment is, no matter what limb is affected, no matter what the mental state is, you guys are out there to encourage them to get their life back and start a new life and to find something to remain fit and find someone to be like everybody else in this room and everybody else on the highway, right?
Exactly. That's absolutely correct. We actually we have got 5 guys that have come through the program that have made the paracycling team for 2016 Paralympics in Rio. So, a lot of us that join the military, we don't have that opportunity to go out and see what we're great at doing. But everybody that once they get injured, they start cycling in, and they found out that they're actually better than they expected. And for me, I feel that cycling is almost like the bridge that we are trying to find to bridge the gap from military lifestyle to civilian lifestyle. Once you start cycling, you join a club, your local community, and then you start readjusting to a civilian lifestyle. And I feel like that's something that means a lot for us, and it's something that we need in the communities.
Well, it's a message we want to get out there. It's a message we hope you go to the Amgen Tour of California website to link on to Ride to Recovery. Come out when you support the Amgen Tour of California. Come out and support these riders, these brave, heroic riders who are heroes to our country, both in the military and heroes because of the example they set when they come home. So thank you for that work.
Thank you.
And we will see you during the race. And during our lunch hour, with the ATOC, we have one more little presentation we want to do here. Those of you on the internet, thank you again for spending the time with us. We have some men that rode with us this morning and are going to be in the race, and I'd like to introduce you to them and we'll learn about them. From Jelly Belly, presented by Maxitz, it's Sergey Zvetkov, who is the 2-time national time trial champion from Moldova. Did I say that right? Give you a mic. We're joined by Steve Fisher, also Jelly Belly, presented by Maxis. First year with the team. Are you from Seattle? Okay. And then we have 2 other riders from Optum Pro Cycling Team, presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies. Mic for you there. We'll grab that. We have Jesse Anthony, who has had a long and illustrious career. They told me to talk about you. You look sort of young for that. And Mike Friedman, who is, we'll ask you when you come up here. Also long and prestigious, but why don't you join in the 4 of you sort of sell behind the podium. I got to ask Mike first. It says Mike Friedman, the man known as Meatball, is one of the professional road racing's most unique personalities. I'm sure we're going to figure this out right away. How did you get that nickname?
Well, before I answer your question there, I personally, and on behalf of everyone else here and abroad, all the other teams involved, I want to thank all of the sponsors and people who have put a lot of dedication and work into making this event possible. If I compete this year, it'll be my 5th year competing in Tour California, and I understand that there's a lot of effort and time and dedication that comes from everyone, and it's something that's very special and meaningful, and I'm very proud to be a part of, and I know that Team Optum is very proud to be a part of it. And Jim, every year you guys say this race is going to be the hardest edition ever, so I say a couple of choice swear words myself, and own up to it, and here we are and ready to do this. So thank you.
What's your experience been at the Amgen Tour of California?
Well, I was here for the very first year, and I was coming off the track, and it was a very different experience then than it will be now. But every year it's a phenomenal event. It's a first-class event that every team is looking forward to and puts a lot of effort into reconning the courses, and it's a phenomenal event. I mean, it's first class.
Let's talk to Mike. Oh no, you were Mike. I'm sorry. Let's talk to Jesse. You got a mic. Okay, so you're one of the leaders of the team, I'm told. Would you consider yourself a leader of the team?
I don't consider myself a leader of the team, but that's what I'm told, and that's what I'll do.
Well, okay. What's your experience with the Amgen Tour of California?
I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this race. I absolutely love racing in California. I think it really is one of the most beautiful stage races that I've ever done. I've come into the race sick before and had some trouble there, and I've also developed injuries during the race in 2011 when I was fighting for the KOM jersey. So I've definitely had some hardships here, but I finished the whole thing last year, which was kind of an accomplishment in itself, and I'm really looking forward to the courses this year.
You've, besides racing California, I know you raced in Utah, and you actually won a stage in Utah. Is that correct?
Yes.
I got one right. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so again, talk about the crowds. Talk about the fans that show up in the United States, and talk about what this race means to U.S. fans and why they come out.
Yeah, the fans really, they make it happen for us. If we didn't have fans, we really wouldn't have that much more of a reason to race. So it's awesome to have the fans, especially in California. They get pretty nutty out there and painting themselves and wearing all sorts of weird clothes. Some of the craziest fans I ever saw were on Glendora Mountain Road a couple of years ago, and when I rode the stage up to Mountain High, I did a little pre-ride this year, and just riding up that last 2-kilometer finish climb, I could just imagine how big of the wall of fans is going to be there and how much noise they're going to make, and that definitely spurs us on.
So, you mentioned Mountain High, and you've ridden that. What was your? Is this the first time you've ridden Mountain High?
Yeah, that was the first time.
And what was your impression when you were pedaling up?
Ouch.
Ouch. Okay. Let's now go to Sergey. Sergey?
Yep.
Is that a name from the valley here, or where are you from?
I'm from East Europe, Moldova.
Okay, and Moldova is where you won the time trial. You were the national champion.
Yep.
How did you get recruited to come ride for Jelly Belly?
I'm actually right from last year. Before I'm right with another team, a bit frustrating. So, it's like get results and get in the team.
How long have you been cycling?
11 years. Science 14, yeah.
And so you rode last year in this race too. So you could make a comparison between this race and this course and some of the traditional European courses. How do they compare? Are they similar?
The climbs is pretty similar, but the roads is more wide here in the US, except like in Europe, really narrow.
And coming from Europe to California, was it something that when you came to the first California race, California is a place that everybody wanted to see? I mean, do the European riders, are they excited to get to California and see the coastlines and the redwoods and all?
Yeah, definitely. Style of life is different, and everybody in Europe just watching TV and they're looking, okay, how about Hollywood, that LA, So, yeah, it's different, and everybody want to see this.
So, do you stay in the off season, or do you go home to Moldova?
No, I'm staying off season too. I'm just go back visit.
All right, so no longer Moldova now. You saw California. and you came here, and you're now a resident, right? You
Yeah,
vote in our
yeah.
elections, and you don't want to go. This is where you want to stay and train.
I mean, yeah, the weather is amazing. The training roads is amazing. So everything.
And we'll end with Steve Fisher. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 23 years old.
And so that puts you probably, where does that rank you in terms of the peloton, do you think?
I'm on the younger side, but not the youngest.
So when you're on the younger side, do you find that, I know your teammates are going to be helpful to you, do you find that in the peloton you can also get tips and help from some of the more established riders, the pro riders?
Yeah, I think some of the older riders that have been around for a while, Mike here's done a lot of racing in Europe and someone that I look up to and hope that he will help me out in races like California.
What's if somebody's watching still at home, what are some of the tips you would give to someone who's just cycling on a weekend down the street in Seattle on the way to the marketplace, or here in California in Calabasas on the way to Peddler's Fork? What do you tell people who are weekend cyclists but just love the sport?
I think it's great if you have a good group of friends to ride with and you guys can pick nice routes on the weekends and really just have a good time. You know, if you're doing it for fun, if the weather's bad, maybe you don't ride too long, or if you're here in Calabasas, it's great weather all the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody who stayed with us this lunchtime on the internet. That's a great way to end. Talk about, cycling as a sport. You do all your life. Wasn't you. Cycling is a sport that best to do with your friends, and cycling is a sport that really conditions you for your life. So as we sign off here, we ask you to go back to the website, look at the 16 teams that we've added, that we now have in our race, check out the 742-mile course with a lot of climbs and a lot of sprints. And one last thing, as we did last year, our friends at Amgen, who sponsor the Breakaway from Cancer initiative that we've been very, very proud to raise money for and to highlight every year of the race, we have a contest. And where we have the jerseys here that we show off every year a lucky fan, a talented fan, can design the Breakaway from Cancer jersey that's given every day to the most courageous rider. Now through March 2nd, you still have time to get your designs in. You win a chance to come out to the race. You win a chance to present the jersey. But how cool is it that you designed something that really is a new international icon for the whole year for our race? So thank you very much for coming out. It's lunchtime at Peddler's Fork. If you're not here today for lunch, come back sometime to Peddler's Fork and see all the historical bicycle things we have here. And thank you. We'll see you May 11th, 18th in the California Amgen Tour of California.